I hope this adventure doesn't end up being another horrible nightmare.
Well, they did it again. Digital Circus, as far as I'm concerned, is currently the king of animation right now. And I don't think that takes much of a stretch of the imagination. Indie animation is demonstrably on top of the world at a time where every mainline studio is in hot water for just completely gutting out their production teams. I've mentioned such scandals repeatedly as of late, but since the last time we were talking about it, just a few days ago, there's another one, as Paramount is being sued by ex-workers over mass layoffs as well. But whilst there are struggles in the business for the bigwigs, on the indie side of things, it is clear that they are taking things in their stride. Being given the opportunity to truly flourish and keeping their creative control as well, Digital Circus is now being produced over on Netflix, and they've just released the 3rd episode of their 6-part series, and what do you know, it's pretty damn good. Whilst at the same time, there are already all sorts of other Halloween specials going on, like the bad guys getting a Halloween one. This is an example of a way superior end product that naturally has the entire wind of the internet in its sails still. Now, for some reason, we completely skipped the 2nd episode when it came to actually making a video about it, but we certainly covered all sorts of details and theories regarding the 1st episode. And what's particularly nice in this 3rd installment is actually a lot of the basic core ideas being hinted at in the 1st episode are starting to come into fruition now. Now, apparently this 3rd episode was teased as being the funniest episode yet, and I'll be honest, I kind of disagree on that, but it's certainly one of the most emotional. As we're coming to see, each episode really is going to be a character study for 1 to 2 characters each episode, and this episode, it was very much all about Kinger and Zooble. It wasn't so much high on action like the 1st episode, or extra video gamey like the 2nd. This was just a straight-to-the-bones, classic horror episode where our characters could flourish and show off a little of what they do. All the while, the actual visuals and quality of the animation is just top-notch. With the lighting effects and texturing and all sorts of these shots being just immaculate. It really is a super high quality show that no wonder Netflix decided to pick it up. It just looks professional, because it is. Anyone can wing it with enough craftsmanship. Now, in regards to how the narrative actually laid itself out, it really was just a freak of the week kind of episode in regards to the plotline. The ensemble cast decided to split into 3, with Kane and Zooble staying back at home in the circus to do some therapy. The girls getting their own nice version of the haunted house that we barely get to see, so everyone else gets the screen time. And then Pomni and Kinger being down in the depths of hell with a surprisingly human body and an even more surprising horror nightmare.
I'm sorry, could you speak up?
Now, was this a great expansion for the main 2 characters it was meant to expand, and I guess Kane a little bit on the side? Yeah, absolutely. It was fun lore, by all means. And it's clear that these characters are well written, they've got a lot of depth, and they've got a lot of secrets to hide. However, I think my biggest criticism so far of Digital Circus in this episode, and maybe season 1 as a whole, as we're starting to see it come into shape, is, to me at least, I think it's getting less and less subtle per episode in a way that I'm not 100% on board with. Maybe it's a British thing. You see, alongside the fact that 3 is being premiered alongside Netflix, as will be the future from now on, we also came to learn that there is going to be a definitive ending, and that would be after 9 episodes. Now, while the 9 episodes note may be more speculation due to a small detail regarding the Netflix collaboration, the more specific and direct quote we have is the fact that they don't think there's going to be a season 2 of Digital Circus. Once we reach the end of season 1, we reach the end of Digital Circus as a whole, and the guesstimation that there might be 9 episodes does seem to be in the clear, as I feel like we're almost getting the plot beats slightly too fast. I'm not exactly asking to go full-on content farm, which have already made hours upon hundreds of hours of somehow Digital Circus content, and that's a whole rabbit hole for another day. I think I was really hooked in by episode 1, the pilot of Digital Circus, because it was a little bit more subtle at hinting all of these story beats. And maybe it was because the internet super hyper overanalyzed every theory that could attach to the episode 1 to the point that now it doesn't really feel like there's much of a secret. It seems like more we know the story and we're just seeing it come out surprisingly fast. But I thought some of the lore drops were a little bit blunt, whereas I would have liked a little bit more subtlety along the way. The fact that the monster mid-action just suddenly goes, "How's your wife, Kinger?" That was kind of cool. I kind of would have liked that. But the way Kinger immediately afterwards just starts rambling immediately with,
Right after my wife had abstracted.
blah 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 blah. Like, I guess that's played for a joke. I feel like that's more of like, that's a joke to watch when you're watching reaction YouTubers react to it. You know what I mean? I thought it was a little bit too blunt in your face. And obviously, I guess the theory is very clearly there. You see Queenie on the door in episode 1. You know she's his wife. Probably, you know she's abstracted. You can put the pieces together. But I think I would have preferred a slightly different presentation to start talking about that lore. The whole element of them both being underneath the fort and having a lovely moment is kind of nice in its own way. And certainly a surprise to see an abstracted form looking so much more calm, I guess. It was nice.
Why is everybody just standing around when there's adventure to be had?
Ooh, it's the halfway plug telling you to subscribe. Look at this statistic of numbers who aren't. Ooh.
Welcome back, my meowing milkmaids.
Don't ever call us that again.
Again, the reveal of the wife is the one that likes bugs and etymology and not Kinger. I feel like I already knew because episode 1, he said, did someone say something about a bug collection? And we pieced it all together there. That was like a nice payoff that for some reason didn't have the dopamine for me. But then the actual flashback sequence, yeah, that was pretty nice. I still love seeing all the different fan fiction interpretations of scenes like that. Like there's been a handful of Kinger discovers his wife has abstracted scenes, which are quite the gut punch when you get into it. And maybe I would have preferred more emotional depth like that in the exploration of the Kinger-Queenie story. But even still, I'm just nitpicky, and sometimes my dopamine don't work, apparently. Learning that Kinger's memories come out better in the dark is pretty cool. I feel like I didn't really sense that when he was in the castle well until he started saying it.
Why have you been acting so different lately?
Being surrounded by darkness always brings me back to a certain time.
But maybe that's me going back on myself as I'm asking that to be more unsubtle. Maybe I just like the idea of Kinger secretly being a genius behind the whole thing when he has his memories. So to see him in his genius form and he's mostly the same, But again, this isn't me writing the story. And clearly, absolutely everything else is bloody well brilliant, and I'm in the minority for probably even having that opinion. The Zooble explanation over in therapy was great to hear. It's really interesting to hear about a character having an identity crisis with their own body.
I hate this body. I hate all these stupid removable pieces.
Working very thematically for a much bigger metaphor, and is a nice little seep into how their mind works. And it's the same as Kane with breaking down the entire reality when he's having his own crisis. Also, is he literally taking commands when people say forget it and that's why he keeps forgetting? Is there more to it under the surface there? I'd love it if it is. Again, I like the hints more than the actual reveals, I guess, it seems to be. As for the Freak of the Week monster, yeah, that was certainly an interesting choice. Definitely trying to lean into the idea that Digital Circus is not for kids and the content farms are very out of place. Even just that first room with everyone's expanded horrific faces was genuine great horror as a set piece. I kind of wish we could have seen more direct shots of it. And then the actual monster being a decapitated head of himself that glows lightly. Yeah, nice. The visuals look lovely. The fact that the head moves so slowly kind of took away some of the stakes, but still an enjoyable little Freak of the Week. The human corpse near the end is horrifying as one would expect, and I love that his recordings were just impossibly convenient and inconvenient as they went. Also, I guess by the fact that his dead body talked as if he was alive, all the while his soul was supposedly down under but didn't really come back because he was more possessed by the monster rather than himself, means that he was just an NPC playing the role, which I guess is fascinating if I am to dig a little deeper under the surface there. But for me, definitely the real highlight in plot and visuals, mostly it's the visuals, is that demonstration of Kinger glowing when he holds his breath, established at the start of the episode, and then just a beautiful moment as they walk through the toxic gas. That's just a brilliant display of lighting. It's not crazy complicated to produce, but it's just so well done from a narrative perspective that I absolutely love it. And I think the music in that section really brought it in together. The Digital Circus soundtrack in general, pretty brilliant across the board. It always does what it needs to do, and it's always a fun joy to listen to. Whether it's the goofy, quirky, what a wacky world we're in, or if it's genuine emotion. The jokes were decent. I think I still prefer the gags of the first episode more, and the second episode even more. But I think it's the small stuff you've got to come along and enjoy, you know? Like Kinger with a shotgun. Just enjoy reveling in that for a bit, you know? Beyond that, considering this is mostly a Freak of the Week formatting for the story and a little bit of a character study, it's nice to see the messaging that's sprinkled around in places, like the one from Kinger himself saying the worst thing you could do is making someone feel unloved and unvalued. It's nice, it hits to the core of some of the storytelling, and it certainly resonates with its audience, i.e. everyone. You know, there are 250,000 people watching live, at least near the early starts. If you weren't there, you should have seen some of the YouTube chat. There were times in this episode where it just went bloody off on one, like unreadable speeds almost. This is the power of modern day TV. I hear the statistics of YouTube as a streaming service that people watch for dinner is starting to rival Netflix. Ironic since Netflix is the one shaking hands and tying these ties together, but still. Anyway, this was of course another stellar episode of Digital Circus, very much blasting their way ahead. I'm always going to hold episode 1 near and dear to my heart because the scale there was so much more in that it was trying to touch bases on every story beat and hinting what would come in the future. But this was still absolutely stellar animation and is still droves and droves ahead of practically everything else coming out this month, other than a mainline superimposed DreamWorks mainline super hitter. I'd love to take the opportunity to talk about indie animation more, so I'm likely going to cover all future episodes as well, just because it's fun to talk about. It's nice. As more theory-based stuff pops up, I'll certainly ramble on about theories, but so far it seems I probably just missed everything, to be honest, if there is theories to be said. There's a whole element of 2D now. There's a single 2D spider in this episode, and that's going to break down the entire reality of this world. Not to mention the minute sequence of 2D eyeballs, which is certainly efficient on the animation department.
What happened?
I just remembered a really funny joke.
It's fun, it's cartoony, it's whatever. Anyway, those are my reactionary thoughts about Digital Circus Episode 3, and honestly, I've been hooked into this for a good long while, and I'd love to see where it goes from here. That ending is apparently written in stone, and clearly they know exactly what they want to hit for each episode in regards to story. It might start going a little bit faster than intended, but with 6 episodes left, I guess that's the way it has to be. Thank God they're not milking it into seasons upon seasons. This is just good quality art all across the board. It's what the animation industry was always meant to be. For now, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do let me know your thoughts about Digital Circus Episode 3 in particular. Genuinely, if there's anything I missed or you'd love to talk about more on the side, I'd love to hear about it. Or suggest other indie projects you think I should really get into. Maybe one day I'll watch all of Murder Drones, there's a lot.
What do you, the viewers, think?
Will you stop doing that?
And for now, I shall see you in a little bit.